It's been a really crazy couple of weeks since Labour unleashed its disastrous budget on us and announced that farms would now have to pay inheritance tax, having been exempted since 1992. There's a lot of other bad things in the budget too. I attended the London protests on Tuesday, and it was a really great day, a lot of camaraderie, not only farmers there, people that were genuinely supportive of farming. And there were some great speeches, and it felt like farmers were really united and sharing the pain of what we've gone through, because it's not just this budget. The offensive against farming has been going on for decades. Of course, as you know, if you're a regular of this channel, I've explained how Brexit has been incredibly damaging for British farming and British food. So today I want to start with an interview that one of the farmers I know, who is in Kent, who's a very large farmer who grows soft fruit. He's largely responsible for most of the raspberries that you find on supermarket shelves. And even before this budget, that I have done a video some months ago about the very precarious state of our soft fruit sector because of the burden of costs and the lack of profitability in growing these foods, together with the reality that there is no country that can replace these particular items. So strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, we're very good at growing them here at considerable numbers for us to eat here. But this budget is really about to make the collapse of that sector happen a lot quicker. And you might not be aware, but under the last Conservative government, we lost two of our biggest lettuce growers, as well as a number of our greenhouses that grow tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and those sort of items in the winter. They've gone. And we're now heavily reliant on, particularly on Spain and Morocco, for those sorts of products. So the food system is in a really, really bad state of repair. And academics that are professors in food confirm this fact. Sadly, we have a government, now a new government, still not facing reality or truth, but claiming that they are telling the truth when we know in the industry that they are lying, which is very dangerous. And it is particularly dangerous because it is about food. If we don't have enough food, then we face real problems in terms of society turning into chaos. It's going to cause huge hyperinflation. This is exactly what happened in Sri Lanka back in 2021. And it's almost as if this government are inviting it.
Big protests are planned in London this week, and one of the farmers taking part will be Tim Chambers, who owns a 1,400-acre fruit farm near Maidstone in Kent. Morning to you, Tim.
Morning.
Now, just explain to our listeners why you're feeling so strongly that you're actually going to go out and protest this week.
I think the removal of the APR will affect not only myself and my family.
Just explain the APR.
I'm talking about the agricultural property relief, which was given to farmers to allow farm holdings to be passed on to generation so that they could continue farming. Farming is a subsidy industry. We produce food at below the cost of production and then pass that on to the consumer. The government know that we are on our last legs in terms of profitability because they give us the subsidy. Without the subsidy, we wouldn't be in business. And now they want to take that away via APR. It's ridiculous politics.
The Welsh Secretary Jo Stevens was on this programme yesterday. I'll just tell you what she said to us. She said that if you're a farming couple, the rate at which you would pay inheritance tax would actually be £3 million rather than £1 million. And you would pay 20% inheritance tax. That's half the 40% that other people who have to pay inheritance tax would pay. She also said there's 10 years in which you can pay it. And the calculations by the government were that it would only affect around 500 farms in this country. What do you say to that?
The numbers that the government are giving out are erroneous. They're not based on actual farming businesses which provide food for this country. A majority of the farms that are profitable and work hard and produce food for this country are much more valuable than £3 million. £1 million is about not much more than 40, 50 acres of land. So £3 million with a house and buildings is probably a small farm. There's no way the government are going to continue subsidising and making sure that we have good food security in this country if they hit farms bigger than that. It's crazy. It's impossible to think that we can continue farming like we are, giving good value of food to the British public when we have that removed from us every generation. We often don't make enough money to actually cover the cost. If we saved all the profit we had for 10 years, that wouldn't cover the cost of the APR.
So before we talk about what will have to happen in order for farms to make enough money to survive, let alone to make profit, what impact would this have on your farm? I mean, do you have a sense of the value of what your farm would be? And I mean, do you have family members you'd want to pass it on to? I mean, just give us a sense of your personal circumstances, if you would.
Well, I'm a larger farmer, so we have a lot of land. I don't actually own the 1,400 acres. You said I rent a vast majority of that land. So rented land does not come into an APR calculation. It's what you own as a personal asset. It would mean that we would have to sell land if I was to pass this business on to my children, for sure. The size of the business would contract. We would, in order to pay to find that money, we would have to put up prices. We just don't have the profitability in farming to allow us to just soak this kind of cost up, even intergenerational cost. We just don't make that kind of money.
Is the fundamental problem here that we're just not paying enough for food?
Yes, that is the fundamental problem. There's a view that the UK can easily buy cheap food from abroad to keep our population alive, but that's fine as long as there's no incidental issues in the world. Is there a war? Is there weather conditions elsewhere? The government have forced this country to produce not just farm food, but everything is too expensive in this country to match world prices. And if you want to remove food security and just become an importer, that's a hell of a risk you're taking with 60 million people. At the moment, the government gives us 2.4 billion a year to subsidise agriculture. That's £40 per head for every man, woman and child in this country. It is nothing. Absolutely nothing. HS2 is going to cost 100 billion. HS2 is going to cost 40 times more than the annual subsidy for farming in this country. It's crazy what they're doing. I'm not campaigning on this because necessarily it's a personal issue for me. I just think it's mad that we should put the security of food, the provenance of food, the quality of food to the people in this country down to a few pence. It's ridiculous.
And presumably you've got other costs as well that are arising from the budget, wage bills.
The major cost for me next year is going to be having to find £4.2 million more just to cover national insurance and the minimum wage. 4.2 million quid I've got to find next year because of that change in the budget. That's going to hit me straight away. I mean, in reality, it's unlikely I'll ever get around to worrying about APR because I'll be out of business far before that ever happens to me, hopefully. But it's crazy. I can't swallow that cost. You can look at my books. I make no money compared to what I've got to find just in national insurance costs next year. If Rachel Reeves doesn't think this is going to hit the man, woman and child in the street, in the pocket, by food prices going up, she's crazy. It's just mad.
Do you think the government understands farmers and
No.
issues in the countryside? Right.
The government doesn't understand anything. The government are looking, this is an ideological, it is class war. There was a chap called John McTiernan on the telly the other day saying that government should smash farmers the same way as Thatcher smashed the miners. This is the politics of the student union. It's naivety, it's ignorance. I would like to think that maybe I could give them credit if I thought they were stupid, but they're not stupid. These are clever people running our country, and they're making the most appalling decisions based on, I don't know what. So is it class war? Is it just jealousy? Is it envy? What are they trying to do by this?
Did you think that the Tory government understood farmers, or is this just a prop? Okay, so this is a fundamental problem with politicians.
Politicians do not understand. The last 20 years of politicians have not understood farming. And I don't think they actually understand the country either. Okay, I don't think it matters if you're blue, red or amber. We have the wrong type of people running this country.
If you were to advise the government, right, let's imagine they're listening right now, Keir Starmer's listening now, Rachel Reeves is listening now, what do they need to do? Because the message that seems to be coming from the government is there are some people in this country who are buying farms to avoid inheritance tax. They're wealthy people. They've seen a loophole. Yeah. Someone said to them, you know what you need to do here? Get your money in that farm. You won't have to pay inheritance tax. They're trying to claw some of that money back. And all of us, let's be honest, are all having to feel some level of pain because of the economic situation in this country. So we all have to accept that we've got to pay a bit more. We're all going to have to take a bit of a hit. Now, clearly, some people are taking more of a hit than others. If you were to advise the government about what would keep farmers in business, but also give them some of the money they need, what would you say?
Target the institutions and the rich people who are parking money in farmland in order to avoid inheritance tax. Do not hit genuine farmers who are working hard to put food on the table in this country, because you're just going to have the opposite effect of what you want to do. The rich people, the institutions, will always find a way around of paying their inheritance tax, paying their dues. We're not against helping the country. We're not against paying taxes. We're not against putting money into the pot. But we can only do that if we're in business. And if you use the type of policies that she's putting forward, you hit the hard-working farmers just in order to get to the institutions, to get to the rich individuals. Be cleverer. You're clever. You have an army of civil servants. You tell us you're one of the cleverest economists in the country. Well, show us you are. Target the policy to affect what you want to do. Don't actually hit innocent, hard-working farmers. It's crazy. You're going to have the opposite effect. You're going to make food prices rise. You're going to destroy food security in this country. For what reason?
Tim, it's been really good to speak to you this morning. I think it's really helpful as part...